Hello, everybody. Today's March 29th, and we're getting ready to go into April. Today we're doing government and security, or not security. Dang it.
You had one job, Krista.
I had one job, and I instantly forgot. Government and social is what we're doing today.
You got any house updates this week?
No, I was worried about that storm that blew in through last night, but it was fine. It didn't even blow our chairs off our porch this time.
You got porch chairs, but you don't have a refrigerator?
Yeah, well, I mean, we had the chairs from the old apartment. They're growing some sort of moss on them because they're very old, but we just have them out there right now.
My whole deck's covered in algae.
Yeah, we've got radishes growing and some spinach, and other than that, our grass is growing out of control.
There's so much that needs power washing.
Well, Krista, you know what else is out of control? At least if we take the word of our fearless leaders, that's big tech. And time again, you might call it political theater. I certainly do. They march them up there, although they don't march them anywhere now. You do it remotely. But you get on your Zoom and you get on there and you talk to them, and they have to ask hard-hitting questions, which the tech giants refuse to answer. And then what happens?
Mostly nothing.
Mostly nothing. But we keep doing it.
Yes or no? U.S. lawmakers fume over big tech's answers on misinformation. Now, the only thing I could think of when I was reading this was, to be fair, a lot of the lawmakers' questions are borderline incoherent. They don't have a great grasp of technology.
Have you noticed, and they all do this, and I'm sure they're being coached to do this, but do you think it has any effectiveness? Every time they ask them a question, it's always, thank you, madam, whatever, for giving me the opportunity to answer this question. And that is the response every time.
Yeah.
Remember when the standardized testing when we were in school? And one of the big things was like, you need more length. The answers need to be at least a paragraph. Always restate the question. And we were like, but that doesn't really, like, they know what they're reading, right? The people grading this, they're not going to be unaware. No, you have to restate the question. I feel like that's what they're doing here.
I think a lot of the questions also, like, not just the restating the questions, but like the questions that they're asking in the first place aren't designed to have any kind of meaningful or thoughtful answer.
They definitely do that thing where they grandstand.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're trying to get a sound bite so they can, get reelected.
The best example of that was when they were vetting the Supreme Court, the latest one.
Yeah.
I mean, they would go on for 2 hours.
Yeah.
And then at the end, because it has to be a question, it'd be like, do you like pancakes?
I mean, I would have a lot more respect for Zuckerberg because, like, when watching the Zuckerberg's testimony from last year or the year before, whenever it was, I would have a lot more respect for him if he would have just, like, the perfect answer for some of those questions would have just been, Senator, imagine how dumb the average person is. Now imagine half of people are dumber than that. That's what we've got to deal with on Facebook.
They would eviscerate you on that. Like, my constituents are not dumb, Mr. Zuckerberg. I do not appreciate it. No, they got to play this as it is.
Yeah, you can't say that.
You're on a stage.
Yeah.
And the rules are not the same as everywhere else. But anyway.
But engagement challenge, is that not untrue?
The yes or no question is that these lawmakers are getting more and more fed up with these non-answers.
Yeah.
Or at least they want to seem like they are. So they are getting a little more aggressive, but I don't think that they've quite reached the level of aggression that is required when dealing with monsters. And more theater, certainly.
This was amazing.
You can describe this as, is Apple somehow trying to explain to us how the wall around the walled garden isn't exactly a wall.
Apple says that iOS developers have multiple ways of reaching users and are far from limited to using only the App Store. Their argument boils down to, well, we haven't blocked anything in Safari, so you can do what you want with web applications.
Which is true on every other platform in the universe. It's not like Apple's giving us anything here. They're just choosing not to restrict one other thing.
So, Epic, tell us about how you can implement Fortnite in a web browser. Oh, wait, you can't.
I bet they're working on like a string, like a Luna type.
Yeah, remember, was it Luna? The thing that lets you play Stadia games?
That's Amazon's version.
Oh, okay. Google was like, oh my gosh, we can use the web browser for this, and it's like a hacked up kludge. But yeah, it's amazing that, the Apple reality distortion field is in full effect here. Remember when Apple made Chrome for iOS use the Safari web page rendering engine. Pepperidge Farm remembers.
Well, that's not even the best example of terrible things they've done. But the because of these things that big tech is doing, the lawmakers are definitely getting as much mileage as they can out of the people's distaste for all of this. Because I think, as generally, most people understand that they're kind of being taken advantage of at this point. Maybe not everybody, but a decent amount. And the Democrats are definitely looking to capitalize on that.
Inside Democrats' strategy to bombard big tech. Like, if you're not political, that's fine. But this is a good article explaining, I don't know, it's kind of a peppering strategy. Instead of having one big law to fight, this outlines all the little attacks that are coming from Section 230, as well as like the age thing to try to prevent kids from joining things, and tracking and privacy. And there's a million little bee stings here. And I guess the strategy is, hey, big tech can't fight all this, right?
It's probably a good move because the legal team then has to spread itself out a little bit more.
Yeah.
And one loss doesn't mean we've lost everything. Although what's the same is true for the wins.
Yeah, one of the interesting things that's mentioned in this article is, did you catch the argument against Section 230, which is not a direct argument against Section 230. It just says that something transformational has happened when the site builds an algorithm that produces awful content that users have promoted. Like, we're not talking about removing the awful content from the user, but when there is a financial incentive to run ads or to algorithmically enhance, whatever the misinformation content is, then that's when some kind of transgression has occurred.
But I don't think the Democrats are going after 230.
It was mentioned in that article.
They say some lawmakers in the article. I think they're talking about, I don't think these lawsuits will focus on that, unless they were lying that whole time and they do want to get rid of it. But we'll see. I'm sure that the tech companies will have, like Apple, they'll put out some half-assed press release explaining why this is not what you think it is.
I'm also really surprised that article did not touch on Zuckerberg saying, yeah, bring Section 230 reform. We welcome it. Here's some ways that we would like it to be reformed so that our competition can no longer compete, but we can.
The old Google play. Well, this headline really confuses me because when it comes to, if you've ever read Sun Tzu or Machiavelli, this would be the polar opposite of what they would tell you to do. In boxing or any kind of fighting, they have this concept of telegraphing a strike, meaning everybody knows it's coming and your opponent has time to react to it. You don't want to do that. And yet,
the Biden administration to launch cyber attacks on Russia as feud with Putin escalates. So this entire article, there is nothing substantive in it at all, except at the very end, it basically says, well, at some point we need to have some teeth here in these policies. We're going to have to do something because we haven't done anything so far, which is also kind of a self-summary of the entire article.
They actually got a comment from some of the Russian politicians who are going to have to deal with this. And they said, yeah, we're not too worried about this. We're pretty sure what they're going to try to do is attack our vaccine.
Yeah.
And say that it's ineffective.
Yeah, which seems odd, like an odd thing to say. Remember when we took out the Iranian nuclear whatevers? Like the nuclear enrichment things?
The controls on it? Like that Stuxnet style?
Yeah, I mean, I guess that was us. I don't know.
I think there's another country that they might look at before the U.S., although it's basically a proxy. But the crazy thing about this is that, isn't Russia who we blame for attacking us with vaccine information?
Yeah.
Is this fighting fire with fire? Is that okay? Because we're going to kill regular Russians if this succeeds. If this is what it is, right?
Yeah, it's probably not. Maybe this is like the double misinformation thing. It's like, I don't know. It's just an odd thing I figured it would be a Stuxnet style thing where something like that would happen. And then the Biden administration would be like, surprise, we took out your whatever.
Yeah.
This whole thing is it just reeks of no you.
And they're both doing the same thing.
Yeah,
do they have access to any of our vaccines in Russia, or are they straight up?
You can just buy them.
Okay.
Pfizer will happily sell, the Eastern Bloc whatever it wants, as long as they've got the dollars and or gold bars.
But I'm saying, does their government allow that?
I think so. You can buy it through. Well, I mean, maybe not directly from the U.S., but they were buying medicine from the U.K. there for a while.
But I thought they weren't believers in that kind of vaccine. Maybe if you live in Russia or one of the former Soviet states, give us some info on that. The Supreme Court is cranking out some decisions, finally. The tiny fraction of the amount of time that they actually do anything is now. And we're getting some interesting results from that.
The U.S. Supreme Court rebuffs Facebook appeal in user tracking lawsuit. So this is what we reported on. This was just last week, right?
No, this is the like buttons.
Yeah. So when you're logged out, the like buttons track you anyway. And some user said, wait a minute, that's not cool because I'm logged out. And the Supreme Court, and they lost. The user won, Facebook lost. And so Facebook appealed, but the U.S. Supreme Court's like, no, that's fine.
So $15 billion. Now, this is not a set, like they don't have to pay $15 billion yet. That's just saying that this case can continue. Yeah. Now, I think, because they mentioned this was from 2010 to 2011, I think what happened was during that time, the like buttons essentially authenticated you.
Yeah.
After that, the like button is still writing to your shadow profile, but not actively authenticating you.
Yeah.
So if you read this and you're like, oh, they stopped doing that? Not really. No, they didn't really stop doing it. It's just that they were really, really badly doing it.
They widened the loophole. There's still a lot of agencies out there that are like, let's put like buttons on everything. And at this point, the like button is like, originally it was like 3 kilobytes of JavaScript, and now it's like 1.5 megabytes of JavaScript, and it's just like no one clicks the like button. Nobody clicks the social share buttons. Like you got the the Facebook and the Twitter button right there. If you pull The Verge's analytics, The Verge, which by all accounts should have tens, if not hundreds of millions of hits per month, that number is going to be like single digits. Nobody uses that because it's garbage. It never works correctly. And it's megabytes and megabytes of JavaScript.
Now that's just the share. That's not the like button. So don't comment about that. But
yeah,
it's the same idea. If you click on that and you're logged into Facebook, then they know what you're doing there. They probably know even if you don't click on it. But that's not the same as what we were talking about before.
It's foreshadowing for this next article, because if you haven't learned the dark pattern, like the dark pattern punishes you for even trying to use these buttons versus copy paste. Like once you learn how to copy paste, it's like, oh, that's not a miserable, horrible experience. You remember to use copy paste. You don't click the buttons.
It's so much faster.
But it gives you that nice little modal, and it lets you type your own thoughts into it.
A little modal that causes the entire machine to chug and crashes my other tabs.
It pulls in the meta. You're not going to get a thumbnail if you copy and paste, sir.
No, you do. You do.
Oh, and Facebook automatically does that anyway?
Yep, Facebook does it, Twitter does it, Discord does it. Like, there's no reason to use a share button anymore.
Well, there you go. The Verge, what have they done? But yeah, this article is about the dark patterns, and I definitely see these a lot. I mean, you could argue that Amazon has dark patterns, couldn't you?
Yes. So try to cancel Prime if you don't believe us.
They will probably fall afoul of this.
California bans dark patterns that trick users into giving away their personal data. Do you not want to share your home address with our bevy of advertisers?
Wouldn't you also argue that every one of those cookie screens, because they have that allow all button, and that's often the only thing you can see.
Yeah, I think a good lawyer could definitely argue that. Like, if you don't have a deny all button that makes it easy as allow all, then you're running afoul of this, which I think is delightful in a Schadenfreude kind of way.
But here's the argument, and this is what the argument's going to boil down to. They are denied by default. If you just click Save Changes, they're denied, because that's the rule. But it gives you no indication of that. And the only button, it really is just like, oh, I really would like you to click this Allow All button. It's a different color. It's shiny.
That's a dark pattern.
Yeah. So.
But there's also the one that I see all the time. It's on the Farmer's Almanac website where it's like, support us now. And then there's like this tiny little link in the footer of the modal that's like, continue without supporting. A lot of times I'll just press back when I encounter that, because it's like, I'm not even going to look at that.
I'm trying to imagine the core controlling team for the Farmer's Almanac interfacing with the web team.
Yeah.
I bet that's amazing.
Yeah.
I'd love to be a fly on that wall.
They actually have like a pretty large website, so I imagine it takes quite a bit to maintain. And I'm like, wow.
Well, we've been talking about some of the excitement going on in Utah that has to do with all of their devices being sold. They wanted a particularly pointless filter on it. And a lot of people are like, this is stupid. I mean, just look at Australia tried it. The UK tried it. There were several other smaller countries that tried it. Nobody succeeded. It's never been successful. But Utah says, you know what? We're doing it anyway.
Utah governor has signed legislation requiring porn filters on cell phones and tablets, according to thehill.com. The maximum fine is $500 per manufacturer. You think they're just going to be like, all right, fine, here's a check.
I think, here in the Bible country, it's not uncommon. It's less common now, but in the past it was more common that individual counties would be dry, meaning they wouldn't sell alcohol. And then that meant that every road going out of that county, on the county line, there'd be a liquor store. I think there's going to be a tablet store and a phone provider on every outgoing road right at the border of Utah.
I think that for
Last
$500
chance.
for a $500 maximum fine, I just don't think they'll care. I just don't see this actually doing anything.
Maybe. I don't know. What price are you willing to pay? But also, I think the customers, if you charge them a little markup to recover that, they'd pay it as well.
Yeah, it's like $10 extra Utah tax per phone. They're like, okay, that sounds good.
Yeah, because people want this content.
People probably don't even understand that that's what's going on there.
Maybe. What is the Utahnians? Utonians?
Engagement challenge. What is that?
I've never considered that before.
I think Utahns, right? That sounds weird.
Seems,
though,
yeah.
in English.
Seems really weird.
Utahns.
Utonians? Anyway. Attorney generals are up in arms, and I should have put this right after the Biden story. Because this really is like, oh, this is a huge health crisis. Let's do it to this other country.
Facebook and Twitter must do more to fight anti-vaccine misinformation, a dozen state attorneys general demand. So they were browsing Facebook, just looking at their local groups, their local constituents. And like I was saying in the very first story in this news program, they were thinking, wow, a lot of our constituents are really dumb.
Also, we don't do corrections anymore. It got too petulant, to be honest. Well, last week I said that Washington Post, this made me think of it, lied about find the votes. No, they lied about find the fraud.
Yes.
The phrase was find the fraud.
That's why I was confused.
Yeah, I just misspoke. So
But-
he did say find the votes.
But that's still fairly petulant.
Petulant? That's criminal. That went in, that phrase is in the official inquiry document.
Wow.
It was referenced at the trial, at the impeachment. It doesn't matter now, but it's something. And I will, after looking at this story, I go back to my assertion that we should have never given away the domain registrations.
Yeah.
Really? We gave it to these people.
Nominet CEO finally ousted after months of wrangling, and also about half the board. So basically, this is the group that handled the .uk domain registrations, or UK, United Kingdom domain registrations.
Co-UK, right?
Co-UK, yeah. They were turning it into a for-profit venture, and by for-profit, it's like for a lot of profit, and a lot of domain hosting companies and businesses and stuff like that pushed back after endless price hikes, because why do you need that? This is the same level of concern you should probably have if like Jeff Bezos is interested in owning your local water company. It's like, what's
But why?
why is a billionaire interested in owning the water company? It's like, well, you have to have water.
I think it would be more like Jeff Bezos buying your local property valuator.
Your house is worth $7 billion. You're gonna have to what? No.
So they also proved that these people didn't immediately come after them and say, you have to quit. They just come after them and they said, we know what you're doing here. It's on paper. We saw it. And they proved that they used company resources to fight that.
Yeah.
And that was really, really against the rules. So there was not much chance for them. This is a feel-good story, if you're into the kind of stuff that we're into. But I'm afraid they probably didn't do it because he was famously a computer scientist.
Yeah.
I think they probably did it because he was famously something else that's getting a lot of traction right now.
New UK currency honors Alan Turing, pioneering computer scientist and code breaker. They also chemically castrated him.
Oh.
And that's what I was talking about. That's the reason I think he's getting this recognition, because back in the day, it was not allowed to be attracted to what he was attracted to.
And he would have gotten... I mean, it was a really dark time. Like, I don't know. It's just... It was he was a known war hero by the time he was persecuted for that. And it didn't... Like, nobody was like, maybe we shouldn't do this, which is astonishing.
I bet there was quite a bit in the wartime code-breaking brass who were very angry that he was so much better at it than they were.
Yeah.
And they were like, oh, how can I destroy him?
Yeah.
And they did.
Yeah, that's a common problem.
Yeah.
I'm sure a lot of the audience can relate to that.
But that's cool. They also talk about these banknotes are now made of a polymer, not made of like paper or linen or whatever anymore.
And there's some kind of a foil on it, so it's supposed to be really hard to counterfeit.
Wonder how much those cost to engineer per note.
They're so pretty. Like, our banknotes are just so sad and drab and gray. Look how colorful these are.
Yeah, but the good thing about our money as compared to theirs is it doesn't remind us that we're serfs. We kind of are.
Yeah.
But our money doesn't remind us that. Like
hello, Lord Bezos. How is it going?
Like the Canadians and the Australians, their money should really upset them.
That's true.
Speaking of the Australians, this is an insane headline. And you read it and you think, well, there's going to be some nuance here that I'm not understanding. No, this is literally what they're doing, which for the past 2 decades, they've been screaming, we have to do this. We must save the earth. And not only do we save the earth, but look at all the money you're going to get back. Well,
Australians could be charged for exporting energy from rooftop solar panels to the grid. The article says that most people in Australia that have rooftop solar panels can expect to save $700 to $900 a year off their electrical bill, which is such a vanishingly small amount of cost given the cost to install the solar panels. Like, why would you even ever install the solar panels?
They do have some pretty cheap energy, though, right? Because they got all that coal, I imagine. If you're Australian.
One of the executives on this said that they have, it's a traffic jam of electricity on sunny days. There's just so much electricity. We can't put that in the grid. And I'm not a man of science or anything, but that just doesn't sound right.
You know how they have those flare wells for natural gas? Couldn't we just take something that requires a ton? Couldn't we just mine Bitcoin on a pole in the middle of the town? It's like, if there's overrun, just send it to the Bitcoin pole.
And put that in the local school fund to help smooth the way for making it happen.
Or just, like the fund to get rid of some spiders. Because they need that.
They do need that in Australia.
The excess electricity will be channeled through this taser that electrocutes the local spider hive.
I don't get it. They also argued that to do it the other way might cause less people to adopt solar. But I think this would stop people from adopting solar.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't have an incentive to send money to the grid. Like, I can't justify investing in this.
And you're going to get...
Which is probably what they want.
You're going to get charged. So either you manage that on your end. I don't even know if you can figure that out. Because you don't know peak times. Your power system... You have to have an Internet of Things device monitoring some government organization. But what if something like Texas happens? Could there be a crazy fluke where all of a sudden they're just charging you insane amounts for giving them energy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably, which, of course benefits them.
That just something is very, very wrong in Australia. There's not really an electricity traffic jam. I mean, don't they have smart meters now because they don't want people to physically come to your meter because that costs too much? Just have that. It's like the smart meter is like, oh, the grid doesn't want any extra power. Then don't collect it. Disconnect from the grid. Problem solved.
Yeah,
It's not that simple.
That might be true. I mean, we might, if you're some sort of person who understands the Australian power grid, please.
Why was the grid engineered to be so horrible in the beginning if it is actually this way? It seems like it's designed to fail.
It's tough. It really is difficult when you're looking at those schematics to have to build everything upside down. So you got to give them a little latitude there.
Well, I was going to say maybe if their infrastructure is anything like ours, it was built, 50, 60 years ago, and everything has changed so dramatically, and they just kind of keep like fiddling with it, and it's like, we should really redo this, but that takes too much money and effort, so we're just going to keep like doing these little stopgaps, and it's just snowballed at that point.
Krista, it's almost like you read the article, because they mention that if they were to just run more power poles, that would be a second way to mitigate this, but that's too expensive. So they're not going to do that.
Smart meters. If you have to have smart meters anyway, just do it that way.
Do you understand what's going on in this picture?
No clue.
This is the weirdest picture, and it's Getty Images. Maybe it's
image credits. Like this is supposed to be relevant, I guess. But
anyway, India. If you'll recall, WhatsApp changed their terms of service was it January? I think.
Yeah.
And the world was a little bit upset about that because they changed some of the rules, and a lot of people use WhatsApp, and they changed how your data can be shared with Facebook and stuff like that, and some countries weren't crazy about it. India seems to be the most upset.
India antitrust body orders investigation into WhatsApp privacy policy changes. Basically, this board in India has a problem with the take it or leave it privacy policy because it's not really a privacy policy, and the article kind of talks about that a little bit. It's functionality change from what people are used to because they're merging things together, and it was a take it or leave it thing, and the take it or leave it thing was a little bit of a delay because of the backlash that you were talking about, and so it's still take it or leave it, but it's also a change in functionality, and so this board, I guess, in India wants to fine them for that.
I don't think they're even doing it till May.
Yeah,
they're not enforcing it yet. So maybe the employee on the right is on a ladder, and the employee on the left is just super tall, and he's assisting him while he's on the ladder. I just can't explain this image.
Oh, it's weird.
They're going to put the light out as India plunges into darkness with the WhatsApp privacy policy changes. It's a little interpretive, I guess.
A little. Myanmar, they are still having that.
Pronounced it right.
Still having that political coup. I guess the coup technically is over. It's a military dictatorship at this point. And that military dictatorship has actually come out and said, we have no plans to turn mobile data back on. And the other internet, we'll see. But right now, we like how it is. So, for the first time, for many Myanmarians, they have to figure out alternatives.
The headline...
it's basically something about them
downloading free software,
finding ways around the block.
Yeah. So, dark times in Myanmar. Free software leads the way there for encryption, VPNs, and organizing. They're shooting a lot of innocent people. A lot of people are dying. It's not good. But technology is helping them bypass the blocks and also organize. So that's good, I guess.
So VPNs, Tor obviously is a big one. Some of the alternative messaging apps, stuff like that, are all ways that they are all of a sudden figuring out how to try to get around this. But like you say, if you get caught, that's a really high price to pay.
Yeah.
I probably would risk it. Would you?
Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, do I have any family anywhere else? Can I flee the country?
I bet you can't get on a plane.
Yeah, I mean...
You can maybe get across the land border, but that would be probably dangerous as well.
I also don't think they're a particularly rich country. So the average person's ability to just pick up and leave, probably not great.
You might be able to get away by boat, but then, what's within range of a boat? Probably not a lot of great options.
You could escape through the Suez Canal.
Oh, wait.
There's just one guy on a boat there, and he's like, I have to go. They're going to kill me.
Well, in Brazil... I think this one, considering the amount of time after it happened, don't you think this is just somebody's like, let's just get 2 million?
Yeah.
They won't argue with this at all.
Governor's mansion needs a new pool.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Apple has been fined $2 million in Brazil for selling an iPhone 12 without a charger. Country doesn't buy Apple's environmental angle.
I don't either, to be fair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they're saying that this runs afoul of some Brazilian law, and there's definitely some interpretation going on here. But again, it's $2 million. I think Tim Cook will just write that from his personal account. And in the memo on the check, he'll write annoyance. China is famously let Elon Musk come over there and become and operate in that country and build one of those factories in order to create Teslas for the Chinese market. But now, I guess they've had time to look at exactly how Teslas operate, and the Communist Party has said, I don't know.
China cracks down on the use of Tesla vehicles, citing privacy concerns. So this is the slippery slope, I think. Like, this is where it's like, okay, you want to ban Huawei, let's look at your Tesla vehicles, because they're basically, they've got all the telecommunications infrastructure. They phone home to Tesla. They have cameras inside and out. They have microphones inside and out. This was a great vehicle, pun intended, for spying on heads of state and any well-to-do people in China, if that's what you want to do, because it's a full remotely accessible computer system. All of the complaints that we in the U.S. would have against Huawei's communication systems would exist for products like this. It can only escalate the trade wars until eventually it's like you can't buy even an Apple iPhone because potentially same kind of things in China.
How upset do you think Elon Musk is about this on a scale from 1 to 10?
I would say probably about an 8.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, you have to be a government employee or a part of the military to get banned from this. But don't you think, considering the social structure in China, if you're a young up-and-comer who wants to succeed in any kind of business or possibly someday get one of those government or military jobs, do you fear that Tesla ownership will be a mark on your
Blacklist you.
record?
Yeah, on your social credit score.
Yeah.
I was thinking of it from the other side, which is to weaponize this. It's like if you think somebody is a secret agent for the CCP, give them a Tesla. It's like, here, would you like to accept your free Tesla? No?
They'll just give it to the party, and the party will sell it. You know what Musk should do? Here's the PR campaign that Musk isn't smart enough to kick off, and also doesn't have the balls to do because they'd probably kill him. Free Teslas, like the leases that come back in, and you refurb them, give them to Uyghurs. It's cash for. I got to think about the name for that. It would be a great feel-good campaign in the U.S., but it would ruin his chances in China. Slack is more and more becoming cornerstone for businesses because people aren't in the same building anymore, and they keep adding new features. A lot of the Zoom and Teams and all that, they keep adding new features. They want to be the best, but they might not have thought this one all the way through.
Slack reverses course on a feature that could have been used to harass. So basically, everybody can use Slack now. Somebody that subscribes to Slack can invite somebody that doesn't subscribe to Slack. But it turns out spammers can use that feature, and then you're just you have this ephemeral Slack entry that there's nothing you can do about, and yay, spammers.
And you can't opt out of it.
Yeah.
You can't cancel it. Google Calendar. I don't know if they fixed it yet, but for a long time there,
Yeah, it's been fixed.
if you tag somebody in a Google Calendar entry, it will put that Google Calendar entry in their calendar without asking.
Yeah.
And I got a lot of Russian entries,
Yeah.
a lot of links.
A lot of people did, yeah.
So same kind of thing. You got to think the worst case scenario through. That's like when you build a website and you're thinking, let's just give them a prompt and they can put in their email and we'll tell them something about what's it. No, you can't do that. You can't let people check and see if that email is registered on your website because they'll use that for evil. You're a big Twitter user.
Yeah.
So on a scale of 1 to 10, how important is this feature to you?
I don't even care.
So let's be 0.
Yeah.
Do you think this would be would it show up on the original tweet, or would it be a response that's just this?
No,
'Cause that would be such clutter.
I think it's going to be just a cluttered row of icons because Discord does this.
And I hate it.
Yeah.
And so does Facebook. I mean, Facebook does the exact same thing. And it is just a little row underneath with your other stuff. And then it's just like random icons.
And there are people in Discord who will spam emojis just compulsively. And it's like, you're not even adding to the conversation. This is meaningless.
It's like Twitch chat.
You're only allowed to have one emotion, Ryan, and that's heart.
Can I get negative heart at least?
Twitter is exploring the use of Facebook-style emoji reactions. So you can heart or retweet, I guess, but then you could also unheart.
They had a screenshot of what they thought it would look like down here.
You know, mind-exploding emoji.
They're
That's a
pretty
good one.
small. Fire. That'd be the only one I'd ever use, is the fire one. Everything's fire.
I think these are. They have. So, oh no, there's a sad one. Okay, I was gonna say Facebook has the crying one, and I see that one a lot.
Yeah,
people
when
post
Crying
something
with laughter,
sad.
you mean?
When somebody-
Oh,
No, they've got both. They've got the sad one and the crying with laughter one.
Yeah, I don't really know how to engage on social media when somebody posts something that's just completely horrific, and it's like, I want you to know that I commiserate with you, but I'm not clicking the like button.
Yeah, like's not really the right. So I understand maybe you do want the sad face, but it's also kind of like, is that what we're reducing human interaction to?
Yes.
It just feels weird.
Reducing. I think it's a past tense at this point, Krista. We're
Yeah.
there. It's just that more and more people are adopting this mad new way of communicating.
Well, here's the thing that will really cook your noodle. We've already progressed past the point where, words have a universal meaning. And so there is kind of more truth into the very simple, which one of these 5 reaction emojis are you, versus using words.
Did somebody write a book about that?
Yeah. It was the thing that precipitated the fall of society.
Well, if that, what was the phrase you used? Boiled your noodle?
Yeah.
If that boiled your noodle, this should reduce it to ash.
Twitter
It's a good
boss
one.
Jack Dorsey tweeted his first tweet has sold for $2.9 million as an NFT. So I misunderstood when this was happening. I thought that he was selling the rights to the content of his first tweet. But his literal first tweet was, "This is my first tweet." And that is what he has sold for $2.9 million. Not the right to post a tweet, but just the literal, this is my first tweet. That's
Hello
it.
world.
Yeah.
He sold Hello World.
Text.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But not even a file.
Yeah.
Just this ephemeral idea of ownership. This is really catching on. Did you see there was another huge online real estate transaction, bigger than the last one we talked about? The last one was like 500 million.
Yeah.
Or 500,000. At the same time, I'm worried that this is going to become a huge thing, and we're going to live in this crazy world.
The only way this makes sense to me is like, suppose that it's the Renaissance, and you want it to be like a patron of Michelangelo, and Michelangelo is like, I'm working on a new piece of art, and I'm looking for patrons for my new piece of art. Would you like this non-fungible token that serves as a commemoration of you being a part of my next artwork? And people were like, yes, Michelangelo, here, I will be a patron of the arts. Then NFTs make sense to me, but this doesn't.
But a lot of those guys, maybe they weren't aiming for this, but they got it. And if you had sold them this, I think they would have given you more money. Some of their wives, who were pretty average, let's face it, are hanging in museums now. And they will for the rest of human history unless something terrible happens. Just some random merchant's wife. That's never going to happen with NFTs.
Yeah.
I don't think. I mean, how could it? Maybe some kind of online thing, but who's going to go, you know what? I'm going to have a fulfilling day of going and looking at the first tweet ever. But you can already look at the first tweet ever. It's still there.
The year is 2783. Computer, show me the peak of artwork in 2021, and it's like, what am I looking at here, computer? And it's like, oh, this is a non-fungible token of somebody's moldy bread.
I don't fully understand it.
Yeah, most people don't. But you could say the same thing about cryptocurrency, right? It's not real.
Yeah.
And it doesn't really necessarily have inherent value, but look where we are.
Wasn't there another book that like had, top examples of art in the Roman Empire leading up to the Roman collapse, and like right before the collapse it was just like stick figures and drawings and stuff, and in the beginning it was like elaborate marble statues.
You see that most severely as the Roman Empire receded. Like they came into Britain and everything was really good for a while, and they were like, all right, we're out. And the church took over, and it's the Dark Ages. So
Non-fungible tokens is the herald of the coming Dark Age.
BTCE, somebody has apparently sold or stolen the database at this point.
Wow.
So I got several emails, and I was like, hey, remember that Bitcoin you had with us? We've recovered it. Just send us 10% of that to this address, and we'll go ahead and get it to you. But here's the thing that drove me crazy about it. 0.39. I had $20,000 worth of Bitcoin. It wasn't that then, and when it went down, I was like, it's not a big deal. It was $20,000.
If only you could get that back.
I don't think I'm going to send
Bitcoin
them the 10%.
Yeah.
Well, it fell. It's 53.
Oh, gosh.
Wasn't it like 58?
So it's only worth 18. I only lost $18,000.
Well,
It feels so much better.
it does feel sort of random, doesn't it?
You know who doesn't feel any better? Actually, he probably doesn't care. I can't imagine this registered one tiny bit of emotion with this man, because it's all about getting those clicks. And how do you get those clicks? Well, one of the ways that you get those clicks is that you mine every part of a person's profile. And if it doesn't already exist, just have the bots create it, right?
Facebook has been auto-generating pages for white supremacists. Facebook's efforts to combat extremism remain at odds with engagement goals. I'm not one to defend Facebook here, but this headline could have been any inflammatory thing. This article is itself the thing that, it's written for engagement goals, which is kind of an irony here. So I'm not defending Facebook or anything.
White supremacists could be anything.
Yeah.
Yeah. So here's a funny thing. When the thing that they give here, the example, is that when you fill out your employer. So some people are filling out their employer as white supremacist organizations. I guess maybe they do employ people, right? But if you do that, Facebook, if it doesn't already have a page for that thing, it will automatically create it. Because it's like, we need a page for this employer. And that's not good.
Facebook really gets angry if you don't fill out your profile too, because I don't have anything filled out on mine. It's always like, are you sure you don't want to add this stuff? And I'm like, no, that's fine.
Well, now you know the hack, Krista. Just say that you're employed by the Klan.
Oh, yeah, that's great. So if someone did come across my profile, they'd be like, wait, what?
I don't know what a Klan girl looks like necessarily, but I don't think you'd match up, Krista.
I don't think so.
Yeah. Let's make sure that Krista's still animated. What do we do with Krista? Oh, yeah. Looking good. Yeah.
So, yeah.
Excellent.
Not frozen this week.
Well, we learned during the election we didn't really learn where the lines were, but we learned somewhat about the process of how Facebook draws the lines. What's okay? When do we block? When do we not block? And there was a lot of controversy. So this is another one that seems kind of weird, but I wouldn't want to be on the team that has to make this decision.
Yeah.
Facebook guidelines allow users to call for death of public figures. Not hyperbolically.
I recognize two of those people.
I don't know who any of those people are.
And I wish I didn't.
You
know who they are.
Yeah, I do. Actually.
Yeah.
So, I don't know who decides whether or not you're a public figure. Is this part of you think the Facebook Supreme Court weighs in on that?
Would we be considered public figures?
Probably.
Z-list.
A good lawyer could probably make that argument. I would say, Your Honor, look at my Twitter followers. I don't have any. So they're saying that if you are a public figure, you can't message them and tell them that you want them to die. But you can just post a line saying that you wish they would die. You can't say that you're going to kill them.
Yeah, you can't threaten them.
But you can say that you wish they were dead. I don't wish that the royals were dead, but I wish I'd never had to hear about them again. And if there was only one way to do that, well...
Do you think, and I'm sure our British viewers are going to be like, rah, 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 but like, do you think after the Queen passes away, will anyone really be okay with Charles being king, or do you think they'll be like, you know what, let's just get rid of this?
There is talk of just, retiring the monarchy.
That's a tough one, though, because a lot of people are going to lose a really cushy income if you do that. And I'm not just talking about the royal family. I mean, there's so much supporting infrastructure around them.
Well, yeah, and a lot of people make the tourism, thing like, oh, they bring in a lot of tourists, which
they
is
didn't
probably
this
true,
year.
But yeah. And it's like, is that really worth having those people just,
No.
around? I don't think so, but, maybe if you're British, you can tell us what you think.
But also, I think the thing that's going to destroy them is the Markle thing.
Yeah.
It's a public relations nightmare.
Yeah. People just don't like... I watched The Crown, and I didn't really like Charles before, but I really disliked him after watching The Crown. That just came out this year as well. Like the new season with the Diana stuff.
I suppose the Queen has some likability because she's so feisty, zesty,
Well,
and she has such a history. Yeah.
Yeah. She represents the history of the nation, but it's like, I mean, when she passes, does anyone really care?
I don't care now.
Yeah.
But I don't understand the whole idea of a monarchy anyway, so who am I? I'm also not an Instagram user, but I don't think I need to be an Instagram user to know that this is going to fail. Because here's the secret, folks. Most people apparently don't remember being a kid. When you were a kid, weren't you eager to consume the same things that adults were consuming?
I don't know. Club Penguin was kind of a lot of fun.
But what? Okay, young Wendell, under 13. Yeah, under 13. You'd be well under 13.
I got in a lot of trouble for that first BBS pizza meetup because everybody was like 30-something and they were super uncomfortable.
But so, take young Wendell and let's move him into the current year, right? Young Wendell can join one of two Instagrams.
I'm not joining the other one.
He can join the young person Instagram.
No.
Or he can join the Instagram with David Hasselhoff.
Yeah.
William Shatner.
Oh, yeah.
Huh?
Yeah.
All these computer science guys.
Yeah.
Richard Stallman. You're not going to do it.
No, there's no way. Facebook is building an Instagram for kids under the age of 13. We have identified youth work as a priority for Instagram and have added it to our H1 priority list, reads an internal Instagram post obtained by BuzzFeed News. Yeah, no, a lot of bulletin board systems required you to be over the age of 18, and I definitely wasn't even anywhere near the age of 18 at the time.
There's several people in our Twitch channel that are lying about that as well, because you're supposed to be 18 there. But yeah.
Can you even do this in like Europe? Don't they have rules that's like you can't have kids on, be data mining children?
Well, I think what they're claiming is they're going to operate this differently to get around all that. I
kind of don't believe them, though.
Why wouldn't you believe them, Krista? Is there anything about their past behavior that would make you think that? But yeah, and also when you turn 14, does this transfer?
Did you just immediately get pushed into the world of adult social media?
I think we have to have, some sort of online identity card, an online ID, if you will, and you're in the walled garden if you can't do stuff.
But the other argument, so one argument is kids don't want to be in the kids' Instagram. But you know who does want to be in the kids' Instagram?
Yeah.
All the wrong people that should not be in the kids' Instagram. Yeah. That's the other problem with it. That's
already a problem on Instagram.
Yeah.
So many creeps.
So that's a terrible idea. If you have kids, please don't put them on Instagram for kids. Although, good luck stopping it.
Yeah.
And we talked about Twitter earlier. Going back to the election, of course, all the social media companies had to make these decisions about whether or not to allow free speech or to kowtow to Orange Man Bad. And Twitter especially took a lot of flack for this. So now they're saying, you know what, we don't even know. I mean, Myanmar, what are you doing in Myanmar?
Worry that you're not going to wake up tomorrow.
But I mean, if you're Twitter, you're not over there. You just do you let the new military, is it junta?
Yeah, I think it's like the Japan thing where you just sort of sit back and say, okay, we'll take that under advisement and just wait to see how it shakes out.
Well, that's kind of what they're doing. They're saying, well, why don't you tell us what we should do? We don't know.
Twitter asks, when should we cut off rule-breaking world leaders? So they're putting out a thing to the users, and it's like, hey, you can build your own user community. It's a difficult thing. I think this is probably the least bad thing that they could do.
But I would still argue, even let's go back to the prime example, and I won't say his name because we'll probably get demonetized, but it was that Austrian fellow. Would you not want him tweeting so that you have an idea of where he is right now, what he's thinking? Like, you can sort of read his moves, and maybe he'll fake you out, but you still have that's back to the Sun Tzu thing.
Yeah,
you want all the information that you can get about your enemies, so why silence them?
But
unless you're the enemy.
Ideally, wouldn't you treat all your users the same? I mean, I guess they don't do that, but like, if there's a rule, it should apply to all your users equally. In theory.
Ideally, but no, they're not going to do that.
Obviously, that's not happening, but
although with the Trump thing, to be fair, they were applying the rules that they had not applied to him previously because he was president. So in a way, they were doing what you say, Krista. Because they did violate their terms.
I agree with this up to the point that it demands the creation of a ministry of truth to decide the gray area.
But that's already in the works.
Yeah, I know, and that's going to be a problem. Because like some of these things is like you and I have read vastly different news sources. And then it's like, okay, well, what are the facts? And then you dig in and you actually get the facts, and it's like, they were all lying. All of them were being dishonest.
Or you go to Snopes and PolitiFact, and you're like, wait a minute. This is also slanted.
Yeah.
Oh, well. I suppose we will see what they do. I don't think they're going to cut... Jinping's not on Twitter, is he? Or is he?
I don't think
No.
so.
Here's the engagement challenge. Who would be the next one, other than Myanmar? I don't know those guys' names. But who would be the next one on the chopping block? Turkey?
Yeah, probably.
Erdogan?
Yeah.
We'll see. Let's do a Turkey or Erdogan Twitter death watch.
We've got a ton of content this week, too. So
Krista, was that a metal bowl?
What?
There was a bowl in the background or something.
Oh, no. It put it down. Did you guys not hear? So the whole episode, and I was trying not to draw attention to it, but like I could maybe hear it. There's a kid next door who's got a dirt bike, and it is loud as hell. And he was riding it up and down his little track back there.
Oh, we'll hear.
I don't think the mic picked it up, but
I didn't hear anything.
We'll hear in the engagement challenge if anybody heard that.
Yeah.
And or is wigging out.
Yeah, sorry, I can't really control the kid riding his dirt bike.
You should get a dirt bike, Krista.
I should get a louder one and then rev it at the end of the driveway and look at that little 7-year-old kid and be like, yeah, let's go.
All right. I don't know what it is tomorrow. It's business and it's the short one. I think it's business and security.
So many videos. Watch our videos.
Oh, we're doing a Q&A as well. I posted it literally right before we started recording. If you have questions for us, go check it out on the forum or tweet us.
Do we know when we're doing that?
I figured we'd record it sometime early April, but don't know date yet. But you've got some time. If you have questions, post them, and we will try to answer.
All right. Give us a dirt bike goodbye, Krista.
Bye.